it's a model for us to be able to explore how ice melts. So what I'd like you to do for the first couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, is I just want you to play around the simulator. See if you can get all the ice to melt. See if you can get all the ice to expand. You can go anywhere in between. So go ahead and take about 2 minutes. I just want you to play around the simulator.
Ba. Low.
All right. Go ahead and share with your table. What'd you find out? What'd you notice?
The more greenhouse gases. You can do like. The more greenhouse gases there are, the more energy. More heat. Hey, brother. Gotcha, brother. She turned to me as if to say,
All right. So, what sorts of things did you notice about your simulator? Okay, the certain gases in the atmosphere, depending upon what their levels are, have a certain relationship with the temperature of the atmosphere. And we know that when the temperature increases, that ice melts. We noticed that on Friday. On Friday, we took care of looking at some graphs that showed that from 1870 to today, there's been a decrease or an increase in the a decrease in the amount of sea ice in the summer in the Arctic. And at the same time, from about 1880 onward, there's been an increase in global average temperatures. And certain types of gases have an impact on temperature change in the atmosphere. All right. What else did you notice? Yeah.
That, well, I just noticed this on mine, is that when the temperature reached 30 degrees Celsius, that's when all the ice was.
Okay, so at certain temperatures, you had certain things happen. Okay. What?
The higher the methane is, the faster.
Okay, so increased levels of gases like methane, you have a faster melting rate. All right. So all these are things that we can observe with the simulator. And the other thing that we took care of on Fridays was we started to look at what are the impacts of climate change in general. So you read about habitat loss. Well, the loss of sea ice, that's a habitat for certain types of animals. So that's an example of a habitat loss. You read about the extreme weather events. And so when you have change, we know that weather is caused by changes in atmospheric conditions. So if you have a change in the atmosphere, even if it's just temperature, that might be changing the weather. It might be making extreme weather events more dangerous and more frequent. Yeah.
The energy can sometimes be generated by the Earth, geothermal energy.
Okay, so there is energy within the Earth itself. So there's different types of energy there as well. Geothermal's an example of that. That's just using the heat from the Earth to be able to say, like, heat a house. Like the country of Iceland they use all geothermal for all of their energy because they happen to have a lot of volcanic activity and stuff like that. So here's what I need you to do. What we're going to focus on is using the simulator to answer some questions. To be able to do that, though, I want you to pause your simulator. To be able to do that, we need to have an understanding of just what some of these symbols mean on the simulator. So the way that it's set up is there are certain things we need to pay attention to. How do they mark the boundary between outer space and the atmosphere? Use the dashed line or dotted line. All right. How do they show energy moving in the atmosphere, both moving from the sun in and moving out or throughout the atmosphere? Carly?
Yellow arrows.
They use the yellow arrows. And how do they show that energy gets absorbed by something, whether it's on the surface or in the atmosphere?
Little, like, ripples.
There'll be like a little ripple, and there'll be a quick yellow circle that'll show up as well. How do they show that the temperature? Some of you may not have experienced this part. How do they show that the temperature is increasing at the surface, like after you melt all the ice and stuff like that? Okay, so you have the global average temperature, but how can you visually see that there's an increase? Okay, so the ice disappears. That's the white part.
There's little things in the blue part that like move faster, and like then it's hotter and move faster.
The arrows begin to move faster, and there's this little yellow goldish hue at the surface of the Earth to show that there's more energy there as well, and so that'll show that the surface temperatures are increasing. There are some limits to this simulator. For one, I don't think you can change the view, so like changing the angle of what you're looking at. And they just kind of average the entire globe into this little view so that we could just look at some information to answer our questions. Secondly, the atmosphere is a lot larger than what they're showing it to be, so this isn't to scale. The atmosphere is pretty huge in comparison to the surface of the Earth, right? Otherwise, we can use this to answer some questions, and that's what we're going to focus on today, is using this to gather some data to be able to answer a question about why is the ice melting, or at least start to answer that question. So go back to the activity itself and click next. So we're on part 3. So what you're going to do here is you're going to end up uploading 2 images. You're going to do a before image, and we'll get everything reset so that you can do that. And then you're doing an after image. All you're doing is you're trying to get the ice to melt to the point where you can notice that it's melted. So you don't have to totally get rid of all the ice. You just have to have it to the point where you know that the ice is melted. And then you have 2 questions below that you're answering. So in the simulator, make sure that, because I don't know if you changed the mode or not, so click on the menu in the upper left-hand corner. So these 3 lines. Click here. And choose Earth mode. It's probably what you're on. And then, you want to reload it. Then you take a screenshot of this and upload it as your before image. Once you do that, you can run the simulator to the point where the ice is melted and you're able to notice. At that point, you would upload, you do another screenshot and upload that image. And then you're answering those 2 questions below. So this should take you 3 to 5 minutes to do this step. We're going to do all this. So the Jimmy time for the next 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll discuss this as a group.